Also, you'll notice I had to put my headset back on because they're doing a lot of construction in front of my house, and I don't know when they're coming back from lunch, and it was quite loud. So I just wanted to keep it so you guys didn't have to hear the jackhammers going off in the street. Okay, so we'll get down to it. State of the business. There's been a lot of questions going on around what we're doing. And I know, we've had some interaction on Discord about this, but I want to give it to everybody who is not able to, interact there or join us for any of those presentations and such. So we'll start off. I want to start off with the cybersecurity, because that's what I want to make sure that I have enough time to talk around, and then I can go over some of the COVID parts of the business accordingly. So right now, the cybersecurity is really strong, actually. So we haven't had a lot of PR about it, but it's rock solid. In fact, it's on more solid ground than I think we've had since I began at Datametrex. There are some large contracts sitting there that, unfortunately, due to contract details, I'm not allowed to elaborate on just yet. That said, there will be elaboration coming. It's just a matter of when I am allowed to speak publicly to the details of those. But they are moving along. And like I said, it is in a really, really good space. In fact, it's in such a good space, we're hiring around this this will be the first time since I've been here that we've been able to expand these operations and move them into areas that we had not foreseen. So cybersecurity, expanding, good space. In fact, that's what I've been spending the vast majority of my time on over the past 4 to 6 weeks. And a little bit along that front, on the AI front, I wanted to talk with you guys about the acquisition of Medicall, as there have been a lot of questions since we announced this acquisition around what it does, what we're going to do, how does it fit in, etc. So let me give you a little bit of background on this. Okay, so Medicall has actually been around about 2.5 years. They have a revenue stream. This is not brand new or anything like that. We were introduced to them through some of our contacts in the healthcare industry. And when we took a look at it and we started looking at their business and what they wanted to do with it, we were able to see that the AI and the healthcare business can be, co-leveraged, so to speak. So think health security and health and safety through artificial intelligence. So the plan here is to take the Medicall business and merge it in with what we already have in Concierge Medical, and then we are integrating right now as we speak some of our AI units into that business. In fact, we will be able to announce the launch of the app, the Medicall app, within the next quarter. Possibly even much sooner, and we already have a full working prototype on that we're actually going to be demoing to people tomorrow. So we will be fleshing that out very shortly, and we are very interested in this vertical, as our initial tests and things show that when we take that AI and we shove it in, in with the telehealth, it's really a magical combination. And we really think that this vertical is something that's going to be on everybody's radar in the near future. And it's just one, with all the knowledge we've gained, through COVID and through our contacts in the healthcare space, and then, we've been doing the healthcare for productions and mining and all this other stuff. We really think that this is a great vertical that Datametrex can do a lot of good in, and in turn make a lot of money. So again, we will be announcing the launch of the app and exactly what it does and all that, within the next quarter, possibly even sooner, because it's moving along at just a rapid clip. Now, one other thing I want to touch on with Medicall and Concierge real quick before I continue down some of the AI space. is this actually allows us to do medical work in the tourism industry. So we've gotten a lot of inquiries about this, because most of our stuff is set up for very large scale bulk operations. Okay, so when we're doing the type of testing we're doing, it's on thousands of people at a time, right? That are all organized into units and things like that. So we're built around gigantic bulk testing, not testing for, like, say, just an individual. Now we do that, but it's not our bread and butter. It's not our primary business model. This allows us to do that almost immediately, right? So we will be able. There's been a lot of questions about are there opportunities as Canada opens up to do testing in tourism space, to do testing in the travel space? Well, the answer to that as of this acquisition is yes. So we do have those opportunities now. So that's another avenue that this opens up, I mean, just immediately. So that just becomes super exciting for us on that side. Now, one other thing I wanted to touch on, we've mentioned a couple other verticals. Everybody's asking, are we going to get stretched too thin on the AI, et cetera, with some of these other verticals, including the telehealth, and then the, with cybersecurity, the telehealth. And then again, we were looking, people picked up on that. We were looking with the Shinhan Group in Korea into, the fintech space, so financial tech space. So those are just 3 areas we're involved in now. The answer is no, we're not. We're purposely limiting this to, a couple of those verticals right there, so we don't just get stretched out all over the place, because we've done pretty well in the vertical we're in right now. And as I said, there's some really good stuff right there. There's contracts in play that we're going to be able to talk to shortly that we're super excited about. And it's allowed us to even go out and explore these new verticals. And that's one of the reasons, like I said, we're even hiring in this space for the first time since we've been here, looking to expand our footprint and our operations, because it is going well. So no, I don't believe we're going to get stretched too thin there. As we are, we're keenly aware of this. Now, one of the things I do want to, touch on this is a little bit about our management style. We do run very lean at Datametrex, and we do that on purpose, because a lot of the classic, management mistakes center around overhiring and things of this nature. So people hire in anticipation of growth as opposed to hiring to keep up with growth. So we hire to keep up with growth. We don't hire in anticipation of growth. And you can see companies fail because of that all over the place. Even, very large investments, Element AI comes to mind in Montreal. So if you see us hiring, it's because we have the growth to keep up with it, and that is the case right now on the AI side of the house. And another thing to note about that getting stretched too thin is a lot of the core components of what we do, with the text mining and those other pieces are applicable into these other verticals. So it's not as if we're starting from scratch. So when we move into, say, the telehealth, and we want to do some applications around, NLP, which is natural language processing, text mining, things of this nature, we already have that technology, right? We just need to take that technology and repurpose it for a couple of different things. In the AI world, that means, we're going to be retraining some models, right? For those that don't know, to make it simple, when we go to train a model, you train the AI to work in like one specific area, so it's really good at it. So like, say, identifying ships and planes or something like that. And if we want to start identifying, buildings, then we would have to train it to identify buildings. So this is the same thing. You just train the models again with a different set of data, and we're able to start applying that knowledge in a new vertical. So that's super exciting, and we think it's super cool. Now, I want to expand just a little more on the Medical things, just so it's perfectly clear. There is an app coming out, and it'll be out very shortly. It's going to be available on iOS. It's going to be available on Android. This is going to be our first work with Medi-Call in the space. So you'll be able to have access to telehealth in your pocket. In addition to that, we will have physical presence on the ground. So we're not just talking about just telehealth. So people asked about, what the differentiators are. Well, one of the differentiators is you're going to be able to actually get real, physical medical help when you need it through our applications. And through the application of the AI, we're going to be able to, speed up these type of things, speed up the diagnosis, speed up, make sure that everything runs very smoothly. And we're able to provide people with, A+ grade healthcare in their pocket. So again, we'll be announcing this within the next quarter. And so you guys will see some videos and some different things about how the app works and how the space is going to work. And we're super excited to be in it. And okay, so that's a lot of talking about the AI. I guess just to summarize it, it's in a really good spot. We're super happy with it right now. Okay, so now I'm going to move on a bit to the COVID side of things, try to keep this up. So people are asking a lot about the future of testing. So this is the question that I've been getting the most, like, how long is testing going to go? When's the end of this business? The answer to that is, and I know nobody wants to hear this, is I don't know. What I can tell you is it's not stopping right now. In fact, it's increasing. We're getting more inbounds on the COVID right now than we ever have. Like, we're getting more requests for business than we've ever gotten. Now, that being said, I'm no epidemiologist or, I'm not a medical doctor, so don't take this as any kind of medical advice, but, we don't know when the pandemic's going to, completely end. But it doesn't look like it's going to be in the foreseeable future. Like, it's not ending in the next month. It doesn't look like it's going to end next quarter. It's continuing to go. And, with some of the variants we're seeing around and things like that, I don't think testing's going anywhere, until, earliest next year. That's going to be my guess. Because even with the vaccinations and stuff, as we're seeing people with rollout plans, they still require testing, no matter if you're vaccinated or not. And I don't think that that's going to stop anytime soon myself. So the future of the COVID business for now looks pretty good. And that, again, the COVID business is what has, propelled a lot of the stuff we're doing on the AI side. We talked about taking the COVID money and reinvesting in the AI. Well, that's what we're doing with these, with Medi-Call, and, stuff like the stuff with Shinhan Group. We're taking that money that we've made and pushing it back into the AI space, which is allowing us to expand the AI. And again, that's, our long-term plans for the company. We know COVID is finite, and we are taking any and all profits from that and moving it back into the core business, because that's where we see, Datametrex' long-term future being. And it's worked. As of this morning, we've got, just to put this in perspective, when I took the CEO position, November, a couple of years ago, we had about $100,000. I'm not joking. That's what we had. And, as of this morning, there's like over 13 million in cash and cash equivalent sitting in the bank. So we're well stocked on that side to be able to make these plays in the artificial intelligence space, thanks to the COVID. And we're doing it, and we're going to be sharing it with you guys as it comes out. Now, the next, some of the other pieces that we've been asked about, are there testing opportunities around the border in air, land, and travel? I believe I already answered that earlier. That was the answer now is yes, because of the acquisition of Medi-Call. So we can definitely do that. One other thing that to get this, just to clear it up, people have, I'm still getting a lot of questions about what's the relationship between us and ScreenPro. DM and ScreenPro are separate companies. We're two separate entities, okay? So the reason the ScreenPro is there is because when we got into the COVID business and were asked to do this, the exchange put some limits on what we were allowed to do, right? Because we're not a pharmaceutical company, we're not a pharmaceutical importer, so there are, laws around what we can and cannot do outside the scope of our company. So they allowed us to enter the space, but then they put some restrictions on us. ScreenPro is there in order to fulfill all of those restrictions. For instance, we can't go out and do a whole bunch of nursing functions. They're off limits for Datametrex because they're not within the scope of our charter. So ScreenPro performs those functions for us. So it gives us a company to work with that we're familiar with. We know the people there, we all get along, we're all friends. And it just makes our lives a lot easier and allows, revenue capture at that point. So again, another questions that are coming in about Q2 news, AI news, what I was saying earlier, we've got those contracts in the pipe. As soon as we can talk, they're there. We're doing work against them now. We will be able to talk about this at some point. Right now, though, due to the nature of the contracts, I'm not allowed to talk about what the contents are, nor what what it will be. But that eventually we will be able to give those details. So stay tuned. Again, we're super excited about it. It's one of the more fun things that I wish I could show you guys. That's all I could say. This one's really cool. All right. So, and then the last thing I wanted to address is people have been asking me a lot about shares, okay, options and stuff. First, there were some options and warrants given out in the acquisition of Medicom. That is very standard, and when you do, an acquisition of a company. The guys that, have built that company up to now, they want to be invested in Datametrex. Therefore, when they're negotiating prices and we're negotiating with them around what can and can't, how to buy things, they'll demand options, right? I do the same thing. That's just standard business practice. So, that is the cost of doing business. Now, why do we do it? Because we think that there is a lot of value to be had, especially in the long term. We don't do an acquisition like that to boost short-term revenue. This is a longer-term play, right? So we know that the marriage of what we have in our AI and what they have in their telehealth space and that knowledge is going to be bigger than the sum of its parts. And, we'll be realizing that. But we're not going to realize that in a week. It's going to be, months, and it's going to take time to realize that. So that's why we do it. People ask that. So for everybody that's been asking why we structure deals like that, why do we do it? Long-term health of the company. What's Datametrex going to be doing, in 2 years? What's Datametrex going to be doing in 5 years? Well, we're going to be doing artificial intelligence, that's for sure. And we're going to be doing it now in the medical industry. And that's where we want to be, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. We want to have a thriving vertical there. So that's why we do it. So we're creating long-term gain and not short-term gain. We're not just doing it just to get something on the books for tomorrow. In fact, that's a very expensive short-term play we made there. So the other thing is that I get asked a lot about is people have been asking very pointedly, is somebody trying to hold the stock back deliberately? I don't I can't answer that question. I've been asked that probably 100 times over the past 3 weeks. And to my knowledge, no. If somebody's manipulating the market, that's going to be for the TSX to monitor and not me. Unfortunately, I can't do that. I wish I could, but I cannot. So I think that's, last piece of the puzzle. One last piece on the AI. Okay, so the German business has landed. It is well established, and our person in Berlin has done a good job of getting that up. So we have a complete footprint now in Europe. So this is, again, as we're talking about expanding the AI, this is, we've expanded into a couple new verticals. Now we're, expanding on the territories. So that's fully established. We're fully working towards some contractual bids there also right now. And when news of those is ready to go, we will let you know. But these are with some fairly large companies over there. So, it's going to be a long negotiation with those guys, but it is getting done. So it'll be moving forward, right now as we speak, and we should have some more news about that in the next month or two. So that's where we're going. That's the state of the company right now. Just to give it a short recap, for the cybersecurity side, things are very healthy. They're healthy enough that we're expanding into a couple new verticals. And there's some there's big contracts in the, already working right now. When we can talk about them, we will talk about them, but management is super happy about that. Our cash position, like I said, there's about 13 million in cash and equivalent as of this morning when I looked. So we're in a much better position than we were a year and a half ago. And to recap the COVID business, it's still going. We do not see an end to it right now. That being said, we are using the capital and everything we make to set up Datametrex for long-term health, and the COVID business has allowed us to do that. So that is the 3-minute wrap up or so from where we are. Now I think we've got about 10-15 minutes left. We got some questions coming in. So let me get to those as they're being sent over. What are DM's current strategic objectives? Okay, so I think I kind of covered that, but I'll cover it more clearly. The long-term strategic, so strategic, not tactical, meaning long-term, is right now we are laying the building blocks to set Datametrex up for a long run, and we are in a really good position to do that. So long-term objectives is to continue building out the AI business, bring it into a couple new verticals, and then expand those verticals and expand our territories that we can work in. So that means language expansions, et cetera, et cetera. So what is the timeline for transferring away from COVID? We're continuously working on that timeline. So the timeline is now. We're not going to 86. Don't get me wrong. We're not getting rid of the COVID business, but we are, with this acquisition of Medical and with everything else, this is the move away from COVID. You're watching it. That's why we're investing in this, because that's where the long-term health of the company is going to be. So as far as when COVID ends, I can't predict that. What is the current plan for existing and incoming working capital? I believe I already covered that. We are investing it back into the core business, which is allowing us to expand right now in the verticals that we discussed. Why is DM using shares instead of cash? I covered that earlier also. What is the stock price? I can't answer that either. So somebody asked me what the stock price is going to be in 12 months. If I could predict those things, I would not work. I would probably just go to the dep and buy a raffle ticket. But our expectation, I can't predict where it's going to be, but my expectation is it's going to be much higher. than it is right now, based on all the things that we're doing right now. I have a lot of confidence in that. How does DM plan to set itself apart from existing telehealth companies that are also providing AI-enhanced telehealth? Okay, so this is a good one. One of the things we're doing here, and we know telehealth is a hot space right now, but one of the things we're doing, like I said, is we're going to be able to provide not just, telehealth care, but actual health care, right? So this is going to be more than just a telehealth rollout. You're actually going to be able to get physical, real healthcare through these services and diagnostics. So that's going to be one main differentiator. The second one is going to be, the speed of the service that we're going to be able to provide, right? So due to the way the AI works in here, we're going to be able to pinpoint things very quickly, and working, with our medical staff and our doctors and my cat that's showing up in the background right there, we're going to be able to provide that healthcare service very quickly and efficiently, and directly to your doorstep. So you'll be able to do a lot of neat things that those companies currently aren't doing at this time, and we will be announcing that within the next quarter. So possibly, probably even sooner, as it's going along at a rapid clip. From the testing side, somebody wanted to know, do we offer 24-hour test results? The answer to that is absolutely. In fact, that's how we built the whole business to begin with. That was one of the key differentiators when we first started, was we were able to turn those tests around in less than a day. And that's what allowed us to get a big foothold into the industry, even with all the competition that was there, because they were turning tests around for, between 3 and 5 days, and we were able to do it in less than 24 hours, and we've never backed off of that. So what are the renewal statuses of the ideas work? Okay, so the ideas work, and you've heard me talk about a lot of this to say, we put in with, we did a bid in with MDA and excuse me, sorry, we did Uncharted Software, sorry. So we were co-bid with those two. That's ongoing. We put everything in. We presented everything. We've already passed the first rounds of judgment, so we're well into the process of that. And when there is news around that, we will be announcing that news. But from right now, we're still in it, and we have passed the first few hurdles, so it's looking really good right now. But I can't go any further into that at this time. How does the passing of Bill C-10 impact Datametrex and helping the enforcement with cross boundaries in which you not tolerate? Okay, so this is another good one for those of you guys who are following Canadian news. I'll give a quick recap, so I'm not sure if everybody understands what Bill C-10 is. Bill C-10 isn't law yet. They passed it. It's still got to go through, I believe it's got to pass through the Senate still. But what it does is it regulates programming that's distributed by media streaming services and social platforms. So think, regulations for, say, Facebook and YouTube and anybody that's streaming media through social platforms, right? And what it does is it subjects the tech companies to the same requirements as like traditional broadcasters, like the CBC or CTV or any of those other guys. So it'll compel companies like Facebook, Netflix, TikTok, any of these guys that are streaming media to finance and promote Canadian content. Okay, so that's what it does. How does it affect Datametrex? Well, it doesn't. For that type of content that they're talking about regulating, it's not what we operate on. Okay, so we don't work with commercialized content. Like we don't do, we're not doing any type of monitoring or digging into ads or, you know, movies. So we don't do that. We do, you know, user-generated social media content, right? So that's not being regulated. So good question. But as the bill stands today, it's not going to affect us at all. Okay. Well, there's a lot of questions. I'm not going to be able to get to all of these. I want to apologize for that up front, but we will be getting to them, you know, through here or through some other updates, Discord and the other things we're doing right now. What is the status of the cryptocurrency portions? The cryptocurrency stuff is just getting off the ground. Okay, so it's presently being reviewed. We have brought in a couple of experts to help look through this and decide exactly where we want to go with it. Again, you know, Datametrex Korea is working with Shinhan Financial Group, so they're deep into this type of stuff, and we'll be looking at that more and more as we go forward. So it's just getting off the ground. It is there, and we'll have some announcements around that in the next, you know, month or so. But yeah, that's the second vertical we're talking about getting into. It's not as far advanced as the telehealth is, but it is there. And again, we are hiring for some of these positions. So if you guys have any friends that are into artificial intelligence and want to come work with us, send them my way. Have you considered a rollback? Rollback has been put to the AGM before. In fact, that was one of the very first things that was considered when I first came on board. Now, at that point in time, you got to remember the stock was like at a penny and a half or 2 cents, and we couldn't have raised money if we want to because we couldn't issue anything below a nickel. So we did get permission for a rollback at that point. So it has been considered over the course of the company several times. As of right now, there are no plans to do that. If there are, we will be discussing with shareholders how that looks right now. Do you have plans to expand in the Asian market? Well, right now we're in the Korean market. We do have prototypes that worked in Japanese and traditional Mandarin. Okay. But right now it's just, they're just prototypes. If we are going to expand into those markets, then we will. Okay. So I know there's a ton more questions, but I think we're at our allotted time limit, so I want to respect that. We'll take these questions, and again, I'll start addressing some of these, on Discord and a few of the other areas where we talk to you guys. I appreciate everybody coming out for the state of the company, and we'll be in touch. So have a good day. If you're in Quebec, enjoy the holidays upcoming, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks everyone for participating.